T minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Main engine start, 0, and liftoff of the Atlas V with Curiosity.
Hi, I'm Katie, NASA JPL research scientist on the Curiosity mission. Welcome to Mars. All the terrain around you has been created using real data and images from Curiosity. By taking photos with two side-by-side cameras, we can reconstruct the terrain in 3D. This photo, taken from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, shows the landing site where you're standing now. It also shows where other parts of the landing system ended up, like the rocket-powered descent stage and the parachute. Some areas are black and white because they were only photographed by Curiosity's lower resolution navigation cameras. Frequently, Curiosity has to move on before it can photograph everything with its higher resolution mast cams.
Thanks, Katie. Now, we've seen in the introduction an opening of this experience, how it works and functions, so there's no need to dwell on this process too much, as I'm sure any of you interested will be looking at it further and interacting with this experience directly. This video isn't necessarily about the Curiosity rover, as we will be looking specifically at the experience as a whole. How is Mars, then, in this experience, created and presented? It starts with the capturing of images as mosaics by the Mars rover, as we've seen. These mosaics are then combined, creating 3D mapping data, and then creating a composite of the terrain, as we've seen. So as I understand that, this is similar to how a video game is created, using a similar tiling process. So it's a real place represented by captured images. It's a representation of a world constructed and presented virtually. What does that mean? What does that mean to us? What does it mean as we experience this? Is the process more real? Is it hyper real, perhaps? A world more real? Does the process render it redundant? The answer lies in the question we are asking and perhaps our expectations, not necessarily the limits of the experience, it's the limits of what we desire. As with the last video, this can definitely be viewed as more than the experience it presents. This is a tool to advertise things, in this case, Mars. The scientific foundation of this project does offer us something different in that it shows the advancements of man, and that as an ideology in itself. Progress as exploration. Mars as a key element of film, and specifically science fiction, cannot be overlooked here. My first interactions with Mars were through two unique sources: science fiction films and a set of T-cards from, I think, around the 1970s, definitely the late 1970s, which I presumed I acquired from my grandparents. Firstly, the T-cards dealt with the predicted future of colonising Mars and showed the scientific possibilities of such a process, something we've heard a lot more about in the last 5 years, but was generally absent from discussion in serious scientific parlance. Something left more for movies for the last 3 decades, but in the 70s it was something that was seen as a possibility, especially with man landed on the moon in the late 1960s. I don't remember the specific information in the card set, but I do remember it being presented in a very serious scientific manner. This wasn't science fiction, this was when man gets to Mars after we've been to the moon. And it presented the colonisation and what things we could expect. I've watched too many movies on Mars, especially as a child. The one that sticks out is The Angry Red Planet. It's from 1959. Very typical in many regards, but two things stand out specifically about this film. The planet scenes were filmed using a process called cinemagic, a process which where the negatives were tinted red. So it gives you obviously the red planet. The other things that stand out are the creatures on the planet. The rat-bat-spider hybrid is absolutely wonderful. I think for that alone and the cinemagic makes this essential viewing if you have any interest in Mars scientifically or as an entertainment set. So we see Mars as a real planet. Obviously, it is a real planet. It's there. Most recently, shining bright in my eastern sky. I watched it from my balcony. Was that just before Christmas? I think it was. And also a fictitious place inhabited by monsters and dreams, as I just mentioned. Aside from this experience, Mars is very obviously a place for the curious among us. It's the outer limits of a possible location for man that isn't abstract or fanciful. One can propose, as people are doing, the colonization, sending people there. We see this as a very essential place, especially for the digital perambulator. We move our feet and streets and planets because reality is impossible in itself. These processes render that mute. We're walking on Mars now. The valleys, the craters, we're experiencing it. Can't look every way, going to move the street. That's from an Elliott Smith song. The couplet emphasises the will we have when we explore in this manner. Can't look every way, going to move the street. Digital perambulation in a lot of regards is the full extent of this will, or a more complete expression of this will, and Mars is very much a prime product of this will.